she's crying and in the bed, still in her, still in the outfit that she was in when she was getting dressed. So this is just the next day. This isn't like days later. This is the next day, or maybe it isn't, but within that time frame where she's literally in the same clothes she was in when he left her. We see she manages at least to get her kids off to school and stuff, but she's clearly very fragile and weepy, hugging her kids on the way out of the door. And did anybody ever notice how the kids on the bus, while she's hugging her son, as soon as he gets on, they're like, "Mama's boy," because he was hugging his mother.
Mama's boy.
But like the bus pulls up right to their house, look like in a driveway, and she is basically naked.
Mm-hmm.
So the boys and everybody on the bus just see her in her robe and
Bustier
stuff, like
robe
what in the
open.
world?
Mm-hmm. And you can tell that the kids are in uniforms or whatever, so they go to private school. So they're living the good life. There's a lot of money on the line with everything that's going on. Next comes the anger when she goes in his closet and looks at how his stuff is all laid out, all neat and nice and everything. She calls him psychotic, and anal.
This motherfucker is psychotic.
But it's funny because she calls him psychotic, but she's about to just go totally berserk in this next scene.
But also, is it like that because he set all this up like this? Or does she have nothing to do with his closet? And then as the secretary, like how much of it is that, you're responsible for, providing some of this organization, right? And maybe it's that he demands that my stuff be laid out this way.
It could be.
But it looked like all of those shoes were basically the same. Well, so it's going to be somebody come along. Well, you can see the difference because I'm bougie too. But all of those shoes look basically the same.
50 pairs of black shoes.
Yeah.
And the clothes are all neat and nice and everything is just in its place and there is a place for everything. It almost looks like a showroom floor, right? Like a place where you would buy clothes or a dressing room instead of, well, it is a dressing room. But, it just is clearly they have plenty of money to provide all of these things. But I think the indication here is that it is this way, whether she participates in it or not, the organization. It's this way because that's how he wants it. And
her saying that is supposed to indicate that it's to an extreme because if you just look at it, you might not think that. So she has to say it.
I bet you there's serial killers less anal.
So now we find out that Bernie is not just a housewife. She is an educated woman who helped him start his business over this time. She's got a master's, so she's got like an MBA, it sounds like.
I got a master's degree in business, and there I was, his secretary.
Here she is playing his secretary and everything else he needs as this business is getting started. And, so she's really feeling the burn of his move. And, she's like, hey, I was your white woman for 11 years. And
yeah, I was your white woman for 11 years.
Now I'm basically being traded in for what he perceives as a better model. And, that's a cutting feeling.
Hell, I worked my ass off.
So this right here is something that I just know a lot of working women or women who have tried to help build things how they felt and maybe even feel. The idea that every time it's something about your dreams, it's like, oh, postpone that. So here in Bernadine's case, it was, she wanted a catering business and he was like, wait a year, wait 2 years.
No, Bernadine, you can't start the catering business this year. Why don't you wait a few years? I need you to be the fucking background to my foreground.
He didn't really care about her dreams.
Yeah.
He only cared about his dreams.
And it makes it where this is her internal speaking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you must then agree to some sort of support, right? You need some alimony, child support after this because it's that she isn't capable. So they're already setting this up that, all right, she had the opportunities to do all of these things, but instead she built this man's company or basically just worked for towards his goals and dreams.
And she worked and wasn't compensated, right? So she was his secretary helping him build. She was doing all of these things unofficially, right? So she probably didn't even work for the company. She probably wasn't on the payroll, never got a salary, but she made all of these sacrifices so that the company could be successful. So she was due something. You're absolutely right about that implication. And then the next thing, where it's just like, she's now what does she do? And of course she's taking his things, and we're leading up to the culmination of this crazy scene. So she is just continuing to rant, and she touches on a couple things. The first one is that, at some point he confesses that, he has been counting the number of times that they have made love. Weird thing, but I think it's supposed to indicate that he is just this anal weird person.
732, the number of times we made love.
An average of about once every 5.5 days.
Shut up. The fact that you just averaged that.
I wanted to see, like, what was this number? Like, you can't just throw a number out there, and I'm not going to go calculate it to see what's going on with it. But a lot of this, what's going on is that there's no backstories pretty much in this movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just has to all be established through the dialogue. So if you were filming like a different type of movie, then you would show what was going on or show the lead up into this, but they didn't. So now she has to tell us all of these things.
Right. And then if you're watching in the credits in the very beginning when they're starting the movie, you see each one of the women in their element before whatever happens to them in their lives happens. And, she's out with her kids and smiling and life. So she's happy. She had a happy life. At least on the surface, that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
But you find that there was this discontent, The other thing she mentions is that her children are going to this school. We said we knew it was a private school where there are only 2 other black children.
Making my kids go to a school with only 2 other black children.
Yeah, because he didn't want those negative influences, I guess.
Because you don't want them to be improperly influenced.
Which is very strange because she has to go along with it too. At what point, I'm not trying to blame, but at what point, on which things do you fight back hard for?
Well, I think also as if things are going well in life, like financially well, and, even though he's doing these weird things, it's like it's working out in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Okay, he might count the number of times y'all are doing it, but at the same time, his business is going great. So like his judgment is good, right? His judgment must not be bad. So it would cause one to maybe second guess their thoughts on the judgment. And then also you're like, everyone wants their kids to be successful. Everyone wants their kids to have the best. And, we've seen this where people are like, I got to get my kid into this school. And a lot of times, there is no separate but equal in terms of anything, especially education. And so part of this is going to be he doesn't want his kids to have this influence of a black education.
Yeah, no, I think
or
it's just of
blackness,
blackness.
period.
Every time it's something like this comes up, people always mention it. But I think of the song "Don't Drive Your Mama Away" by Shirley Caesar.
Your mama's in the way now.
It's just an amazing song. Basically, it's a son whose wife don't want their kids around her mother-in-law, right? Because it's a bad influence and she speaks bad English and things like that.
You ought to get rid of your mama. We got a lot of young folk like that. She uses bad English. I want you to put in her old folk home.
Yeah, it's like respectability politics, basically.
It's like trying to impress, and you don't want this influence of what I think is stereotypical black culture. Sometimes it's not even that.
Right? I don't want them to appear to be black and have black mannerisms and speak black, and I just want them to completely assimilate.
Well, and respectability politics, one of the things it does dictate is that you need to be like the only one, right? The only black or close to the only black, so that you're set apart. You're not like, quote, those people over there.
And it indicates that you're special.
Yeah.
Because you're the only one over here.
You're the magical Negro in the room. And this goes far deeper than we could ever discuss in the context of this movie, but it is still a debate today. because there are a lot of people who are like, I'm going to reject my culture. I'm not going to embrace it. Or if I embrace it, it's behind closed doors. It's only when I go off to the side and visit people. But can you imagine if you've married into a family where one of the parties in the family is completely unacceptable? Like, you can't come around the kids, don't come around here because you don't speak proper English, or your life is different culturally because you've chosen to leave your culture behind, the culture you came from,
Yeah.
right? So that, to me, that's a thing I think that gets glazed over with